everybody, and welcome to our MSD mini webinar on writing practice. We're just going to give a minute or two to let people join, and then we will get started. So just give us 1 or 2 minutes. All right, it looks like people have joined and we're ready to get started. So with that said, my name is Lisa Stern, and I'm one of the member services directors here at ERB, and I'm joined today by my colleagues, Jason Lesnetsky and Kelly Bornman, who are also MSDs at ERB. We also have Mimi Lee with us today, who is the product manager specializing in ERB writing at ERB. So she can help us answer questions and help you out with this new program that we have. This MSD mini web series is designed to introduce you to ERB's suite of product and services. Today, we're going to be focusing, as you know, on ERB writing. And after a brief introduction to ERB as a company, I'll provide an overview of the ERB writing program by showing you a demo of the program itself. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to add those to the Q&A section that you see at the bottom of your screen. And Mimi, Jason, and Kelly would be happy to help with those as I'm talking, and we'll also answer questions out loud at the end of my presentation. A few very quick housekeeping notes for you as we get started. This session is being recorded, just so you know, and we will provide that recording to you within a day or two after we finish this morning, so that you can share it with your teams back at your school, or you can rewatch it if you have any questions. And again, as I already mentioned, we will be using the Q&A feature for questions today. So please make sure if you have questions to put them in the Q&A feature, as we will not be monitoring the chat feature throughout. So please do put those in the Q&A area. With that said, if you aren't familiar with ERB, we're a nonprofit educational insights organization. We've been serving schools around the world for over 90 years. We believe in the power of unlocking every student's full potential with access to quality education for all learners, regardless of their background or circumstances. Our core belief is that assessment data and learning tools should be used equitably, not as a gatekeeper, but as a gateway to learning and growth. We celebrate the value and dignity of all, from students and their families to our employees and their member schools. We work diligently to create tools for learning that are research-based and recognize the uniqueness of each student. We believe that information about student learning facilitates progress over time and is a valuable tool for unlocking student potential because it helps identify strengths and areas for growth. With reliable data and valid interpretations, we can best support students' learning needs and aspirations. Our assessments and learning tools go beyond the traditional measures of academic performance to include an understanding of the student's sense of well-being and belonging, as well as the social emotional tools they use to navigate their environment. And with that said, we are going to go ahead and jump right into ERB writing. We're going to go ahead and take a look at ERB writing in the program itself. So I am now logged in as a student. We will look at both a student and a teacher view of the program. And again, if you have questions as we're going through this, please do feel free to throw them in the Q&A, and Mimi, Kelly, Jason will be happy to help, and I'll be happy to answer questions at the end as well. All right, so as a student logs in, they're asked to choose which course they're a part of. So if multiple teachers are using this program, they would have a list of the different classes that they're in here. In this case, our sample student, Joseph, is only in one course. So we're going to go ahead and jump into that class. And this is what it looks like when a student logs in. So the student view of the program. You can see that you're able to, as a teacher, assign lessons, and the student will see those as soon as they log in. In this case, Joseph has completed 4 of the lessons. There's one he hasn't done yet that's been assigned to him. And you can see how long a student spent in the lesson. They can see how long they spent and when they finished it. As they scroll down, they can see the different prompts that they're working on, or essays, and their history of writing, so they can get some basic information about that. And then if they have any peer reviews, one of the exciting new features of this program as an upgrade from WPP, if you used to use WPP, is the peer review feature. And you can see down here that Joseph is working with another student, Zoe, on peer reviews. So that is down there and that is pending. So we're going to take a look at what a student would see if they go to write an essay. So this is the homepage, a great way to jump into lots of different things. We're going to start with practice. And when we go to practice, you can see all the prompts that are available for Joseph to work on. So he can choose which essay he's working on as he looks at the list. In this particular case, we'll work on a party for a friend just because it pops up first. You can see that there's a pre-writing area. And when you click on that, you're given an option of all different graphic organizers that a student is able to click on and then fill in the relevant information. So you can see all different versions of graphic organizers here if you were working on one of those. For today, just for the sake of this demo, we're going to go ahead and jump into the writing. But again, all of those graphic organizers are easily available. As a teacher, you are able to make those optional or required. It's up to you. We'll see that from the teacher view in a few minutes. So I'm going to click on begin writing. And if I were Joseph and I were working on an essay, I could go in here, and this is about a party for a friend. So I'm going to title this Zach's birthday party. And we can write an essay here that will be scored immediately. So we're just going to put in a sentence or two to make this quick for you, but that way you'll have the opportunity to see what that process looks like. There is an example of an essay. A student would obviously spend more time and write a longer essay, but just for the sake of showing you this, you can see I've now typed in an essay. There is a place to put in cited sources depending on the age of your students and the type of essay. And you can see I can now submit the essay. I can say, yes, I'm about to submit it for scoring. And you can see what happens here. There's the essay itself. If there were spelling mistakes, it would pick up on those. And then at the bottom, you can see that the scores down here are created immediately for the student. Obviously, this is going to be an essay that scored pretty low because I was just creating an example, but I wanted you to be able to see what happens for a student. It's graded in, almost immediately, and then the student is given areas to think about in terms of what to improve for their next draft and some feedback on the essay itself in each of the areas that's assessed. So you can see development of ideas, organization, style, word choice, and sentence fluency. And then down at the bottom, conventions. And then different areas to think about and to improve for each of those areas. It also suggests lessons automatically. So as a student, when I see the feedback on my essay, I'm able to click right into the lessons that the system is suggesting for me, and I can go ahead and click writing an essay, and it's going to walk me through a brief lesson, a couple minutes, on how to, in this case, write an essay and the development of ideas around that. So that's mostly most of the student view of how they work in here. There are, again, lessons available to students, as well as the practice tab where you can actually write, and on the home screen, you can see a summary of all of that. I'm going to go ahead and log out now that you've seen a little bit of what a student would experience and show you how this works for a teacher. And that way you can get a sense of all of the controls that you have as the person who is teaching the class or teachers in your school if you're an administrator. So we can go ahead and again, click on the class that we're talking about. If you have multiple classes, like you teach in middle school and you have 5 different sections of English, you would see them all listed here. In this case, this teacher only has 1 class, but again, you could have multiple courses here and you would pick on the one that you're interested in today. And you can see right away all the activity from the students in that class. So you get a sense in that first home screen when you log in of what every student is doing, what draft they're on, have they scored it, has it been reviewed, what prompts, all of those pieces of information that might be helpful to you. As you look at this, if there is a particular prompt you're curious about, then you can go ahead and click on that prompt, like I could click on this one. And this is a prompt that obviously has a lot more writing in it than we saw in the student view when I was just creating one on the spot. You can see that this is a student who wrote this prompt, wrote this essay, and this is now the third draft of it. And they continue to get feedback and then use that feedback to continue drafting their essay. This is the type of feedback a student would also see in their view. We just didn't have enough writing for the feedback to pop up. There weren't any spelling or noticeable grammar mistakes in what I wrote earlier, but you can see if you click on this, it will actually suggest to you exactly why there's a little note here. In this case, it would be 6 should be spelled out. And then you can see some spelling mistakes and things like that are highlighted as well. So the system will automatically annotate for the student and you're able to see that. And then if you scroll down again, you can see the student scores on this particular prompt and you can see the feedback and lessons that they were given. So you can get a sense of where students are if you're curious about how they've been using the program and the progress they have made. So that is one example of a record. Again, the student would have this same view if it were a more developed essay in their view, but this is what a teacher can see of a specific prompt. If you start with the Students tab, once you've explored that Home tab, you can see the different students available in your class. So you can see that in this case, there are 4 students enrolled in this class. There are 16 seats left. So this was a 20-student class that we had set up here. And there are lots of different features here in terms of flexibility in your classroom. Some neat things like if you go to edit and you go to print, you're now able to print out a list of all your students' names with their username and password. You could cut this into slips and give it to them to take home and work on their writing at home. They would have their password with them. The next tab that we're going to look at is the Prompts tab over here, and you can see all the different prompts that are available for teachers. There are a huge range of prompts, about 500 that we offer, different prompts at different levels for you to assign to students. So you can get a sense here, and you can see all these ones with the green checks we've enabled or allowed students to use. You can see down here a couple that we have not enabled yet. So you can pick and choose what's most appropriate for your class or your school and enable or disable prompts as you would like as you go. One of the features that we really love about this program and that I want to make sure to point out to you, you can click the Add button up here in the prompts screen, and you're able to add a custom prompt. That's really valuable. It's actually one of the most used tools we had, WPP, and we're excited to bring it back here with even some additional features. Being able to add a custom prompt can be really powerful if there's something specific you want students to write about, but you also want the benefit of this system being able to take a look at the first pass of the writing as students are working. So you can see you can add a title and of course the prompt itself, the description. It's important that you choose the correct genre because each genre has different rubrics and scoring methods. And so you want to make sure you're choosing the correct genre here. But what's really powerful is you, like any prompt, so whether it's an ERB provided prompt or your own, there are tons of options here for how you set this up for your students. You can see you can set due dates. You can recommend specific prompts. You can add a timer for how long students have on a given draft. You can add specialized vocabulary, abbreviations, acronyms, things like that. And you can enable or disable copy and paste. So if you do not want students to be able to copy material from somewhere else and paste it in, you can disable that here for this particular prompt. You can, as I mentioned before, require or make optional a graphic organizer, lots of options for drafting, amount of time, what's required, all of that good stuff. You can see again, when students get feedback, you might not want them to get feedback after the first draft. You might want to delay that a little bit. And then some options for setting up peer review groups and what courses this prompt would be available in. That is the prompts page, and that explains a little bit of what's available to you, but it really is quite flexible between all the prompts that we provide and the ability to add anything else that you would like. There's really an unlimited number of options for what students can write about, which is, again, another really powerful feature of this program. The last thing I do want to show you while we are in here is this records tab. And this shows you the type of reporting a teacher has access to. So again, different than what a student would have access to, but you can see that there are reports that show class averages by trait and things like that. So if you're curious, you've worked on organization as a class for the past month and you're curious to see if your kids' scores have gone up in that area over the past month, you can look at those types of reports. There's also reports like this average monthly scores. Keep in mind that it is only August right now, so this will fill in over the course of a year, but you can watch both individual students and class average scores throughout the year to see the progress that kids are making. That's an example of a report that would be available. And again, you can also see it on a graph, which can be really helpful in explaining the progress that you've made as you think about the year and areas that you might like to improve in. These are completely flexible. You could say, I don't want to look at the total score, but I want to see, has organization improved throughout the year, because that was a goal of mine to continue to work on that. So that's a whole bunch of the features in this program, both from the student and the teacher side. I want to leave just a couple minutes to answer any questions that people might have. So I'm going to, at least for the moment, stop sharing and see if there were any questions that came up either in the Q&A or if anybody wants to in the Q&A now, and then we'll finish up. So any questions out there?
Lisa, I can just go ahead and share one question. One of our viewers asked if some of the materials were printable. The answer, I responded directly to her in the tool, but the answer is that some of the screens are printable. Some of them have neat, print buttons, so that's very easy to find. And then for other screens, you can just right click on your mouse and click the standard print option.
Yes. Absolutely. You can see here, I'll go back to sharing my screen just for one moment. On that last screen I was on, just as an example, there's a download button as well. So you could download this and print it. And there are some screen, I believe, Mimi, you would know as well as I would, like the graphic organizers and things like that. Some are printable, some may not be, but you can Control P to print them, even where there isn't a print button. So you're able to capture those. Any other questions that anybody has? It looks like we're all no, I see something popped up here.
One question for, more specifically, are any of these resources available for schools that wouldn't be using a digital classroom feature like this? So I think the answer, if this is getting to your question, is there's no package of like a booklet of the prompts or the lessons that we currently have. So the only way to print them would be to, print them kind of screen by screen at your, of your choice.
Yeah, and you, in order to have access to that, you would need to purchase the ERB writing program. That does call up one thing that I forgot to mention. And I do see a question here, Sarah. I'm going to answer your question at the same time. I haven't mentioned yet, but we do have a free demo available of this. So after listening, if you are interested in trying this out with a class of students at your school, we are able to give you a 30-day free demo of this product for one class at your school. So please do reach out to your MSD if you want a chance to get to play with this at your school and explore a little bit more. And Sarah, to your question, reach out to your MSD, and whichever one of us works with you, we would be more than happy to explain the pricing. But the short version of that is it's $18 per student. But again, there is the free 30-day demo for a class of students if you wanted to try it out first. It looks like we've answered all the questions. So with that said, I think we are probably all set and just teeny bit over our 15 to 20 minute time frame. It's hard to fit that much into that much time, but glad we snuck it in there. And again, if you have any questions or are interested in the free trial or ordering, do reach out to either Kelly, Jason, or I, or you can head to the website that you see on the screen right now. But any of us is happy to help you with getting started with this program. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to working with you this